What's going on, Heat Nation? Sam Shapiro here, back with another episode of Heat Latest here on FanArc. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel already, what are you doing? Go hit that sub button right now or drop a like on this video. Any of that would be greatly appreciated, especially if you want to keep up with some entertaining Miami Heat content here on our channel. But today we're going to dive into another hypothetical I think Miami should really consider, assuming Damian Lillard doesn't suit up for South Beach this upcoming season. Russell Westbrook could definitely be a good option for Miami to look into, and I got a few reasons why. First off, being guard depth would already add to a fairly strong backcourt so far, complementing guards like Tyler Herro, Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, and now rookie Kasparas Yakuchones. Westbrook would add veteran experience like Damian Lillard. The only difference would be he would be able to take the floor this season, and it's not recovering from an Achilles injury right now. Not quite the same level of, superstar Damian Lillard was this past season, but did start in 36 games for the Nuggets. Played in 75 of those games, and he was a pretty focal point in their playoff run this past season, averaging 13 points per game, 6 assists, and just under 5 rebounds on the regular season. I also just think the energy he brings on the court would totally mesh with Heat culture and that ground and pound type of relentless drive that most Miami Heat players tend to show, especially throughout the regular and postseason. So I think he would definitely contribute a lot of the things that Damian Lillard would also be able to bring this team, but would be able to do it a little bit more sooner, just maybe not at the same level. But we're also going to have to see how Lillard rehabs from this injury and the type of player he is once he comes back from that. So could definitely be a good investment for Miami to look into, assuming, Russell Westbrook is kind of the same caliber player he was at least last season. Would be a great piece off the bench. Unfortunately, not the triple-double machine he once was in Oklahoma City, but I still think he would contribute a lot to this team's backcourt and would be a great option for Miami going forward. Now, another thing that I saw that there were talks about it maybe earlier, kind of towards around like the NBA Finals when that was wrapping up, was where the heck is Giannis Antetokounmpo going to end up? Assuming things don't work itself out, things with him in Milwaukee don't necessarily work themselves out. But I think at this point, it's pretty safe to say Antetokounmpo not coming to South Beach. It's pretty unfortunate. I would love to see him suit up for, the White Hot, but I feel like there's more buzz surrounding him. Potentially, either if he does decide not to go to Milwaukee, there is more buzz surrounding him either going to the Knicks or the Lakers. And it's actually interesting, on July 10th, there's a streamer by the name of iShowSpeed who was visiting Antetokounmpo in Greece, trying to get a little bit of a tour of where he kind of grew up and whatnot. And he actually asked Giannis about going to the Knicks specifically, which I thought was pretty interesting. And Giannis's response wasn't necessarily a yes or a no, but he did say, quote, "A lot of people try to convince me to go and play there and stuff. We'll see. I love Milwaukee," end quote. So it sounds like he definitely wants to see if Milwaukee is really going to work out. That's quite honestly why I don't think he's going to go anywhere, and he is going to stay put for the ferocious deer, so to speak. But it would have been nice to see him kind of end up on Miami. Would have obviously added a lot to that team's front court. But you've already got Bam, Kel'el Ware, and now Norman Powell kind of fluctuating between the 2 and 3 positions. So it would have been interesting to see how he would have meshed with those guys, but he definitely would have tried to make it more of his team, assuming he would have came in, and I don't necessarily know if that would have worked right away. So I think it's pretty safe to say, because Miami isn't even being mentioned in these conversations anymore, that it's pretty safe to say he's not coming to South Beach, unfortunately. I just wanted to bring that up because there were so many talks about him potentially going there before the whole Kevin Durant trade, and it kind of died down, and I was kind of curious to think about the what if he actually did go there, but also at the same time, why we maybe didn't hear the buzz about that, circulating going forward. And I think his if he is going to leave Milwaukee, New York is more of a focal point that he's kind of thinking about potentially going forward. But it's interesting that he didn't give a definitive yes or no to, potentially leaving Milwaukee. So I'm not saying it's completely out of the picture, but as for right now, I would say probably not going to suit up in South Beach at this point in his career. But two guys that I am very happy to say that the Heat are not really negotiating with, or even, looking at in terms of bringing them into their roster. The first one being Ben Simmons. Absolutely not. No, thank you. We do not want Ben Chuck. I am good. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that the Knicks are persistently talking to him, because that's just an idea that I personally don't think Miami even needs to entertain. Also, in terms of the worth, all he really needed to do was develop a jump shot. And Miami is a very heat culture, so to speak, is a very work hard and you are rewarded by the work you put in type of team. And I just think that would not have meshed well with Ben Simmons or Pat Riley or anyone in between that mix. And it would have just been a recipe for disaster if we brought a guy like that in. Super athletic, talented guy for sure, but I just don't see him blending in with the Heat culture anywhere near, even a guy like Damian Lillard or Russell Westbrook would if we decided to bring them to the 305. But yeah, Ben Simmons, absolutely not. No, thank you. I'm glad the Knicks are 10 times more interested in him than we are. And yeah, no, thank you. That would have been a recipe for disaster. And I'm glad he's a free agent, not on Miami's radar right now. The other one that I found, maybe wouldn't be as bad of a fit, but also I don't think would be so great, is Al Horford. I know Golden State very persistent on trying to get him signed right now, but the big question of retirement is still kind of looming over him, and I think Golden State is really holding off on their negotiations with him because of the whole Jonathan Kuminga situation, which Miami is also very vocal about. But it seems like Golden State's really trying to get Kuminga cemented into their franchise, at least for the next, once his contract kind of ends now. It'll just be interesting to see if the Warriors can convince Horford to get out of retire, or can convince him out of, looking to an early retirement now that he's no longer with Boston at this point in time. And yeah, I'm glad Miami's not really in the mix. We kind of just let, a guy who's maybe on the cusps of retirement as well, and Kevin Love. If we needed if we needed a glue guy that was also a big man, we probably would have found a way to not have to swing Kevin Love, even though that was a great trade we made for Norman Powell. But I just think that, adding a guy like Horford isn't necessarily going to make this team better, because we're also trying to get younger. And if we're looking at guys that are thinking about retirement next Tuesday or anywhere in between that, it might not be the best ad for Miami right now. So moving over to what's going on with the Summer League. I know I was kind of mentioning in the last episode Pela Larson being, potentially why Miami doesn't necessarily look to add their roster through free agency. But now I've got another guy that I think could also be in the mix for that as well. That guy being Keshad Johnson. He kind of started off the Summer League fairly slow, but over these last two games has dropped 20 points in both of those matchups, 22 against the Celtics on July 14th, and then 21 on July 11th against the Lakers, shooting over 50% or 57% rather in the game against the Lakers, and then 80% in that game against the Celtics. Just very, very, it's exciting to see a guy like Johnson, really bolstering, a better kind of heating up as the Summer League has progressed so far. So far throughout the summer, in the games he's played, he's averaged just under 12 points per game with 5 rebounds to go with 1.5 steals. I don't know how you get half a steal, but 1.5 steals per game. Some games probably get 2 or 3 steals. Some games get 1, but he's shooting 49% overall from the floor. Could improve a little bit on that 3-point percentage, 38.9% from 3, but it kind of begs the question, is this another South Beach experiment Miami is investing in? They were undrafted initially. Miami ended up picking him up, signing a 2-way contract with him, and then him kind of bouncing back and forth between the team and the Sioux Falls Sky Force throughout this past regular season. Didn't really do anything, obviously, bouncing in between the NBA and the G League a little bit. But, I mean, these last couple games, especially in the Summer League, it's been pretty interesting to see him kind of heat up, especially in these last 2 games. I don't know if that's going to be a mainstay, especially because, it is the Summer League. It doesn't really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, especially if it doesn't translate to the preseason or regular season. But to me, these 2 games are showing the signs of another South Beach experiment. Miami keep hanging on to these role players, these almost no-name kind of guys when they first get them, and then hopefully developing them into bench players, role players, and then maybe even a 6-man or potential starter if, a main centerpiece of the starting lineup were to go down. And again, I mentioned this last episode, we've seen this time and time again with guys like Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson. And I'm hopeful now Payla Larson and Kashad Johnson is going to be, another guy like that coming into this regular season just because of the lack of moves we have made in free agency. So it's very interesting to see Miami try to want to home grow their talent, as I was mentioning last episode. And, I'm hoping that these 2 games are not just kind of, rare stints or just, one and done type of deals, but this is kind of how he's disciplining himself maybe in practice, throughout summer league practices, throughout the offseason. And hopefully it's kind of helping him develop into a more consistent player that we could see some production from going forward. And then, maybe hopefully if we do let him go in 3-5 years, maybe getting better draft assets or, something that could help us get another cornerstone franchise type of player going forward. That's kind of all I want to touch on today, but if you want more updates on your Heat latest, again, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to drop a like on this video. We have daily content about your Miami Heat, and we just try to keep it entertaining. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next time. Bye-bye.